You're listening to the Coach's Locker podcast with Chris Fore. This is episode 19. And today we're talking to Coach Lamont Butler from Trinity International University. We'll catch up with him. If you've been following my podcast, you know that we've been checking in with Coach Butler once a week, kind of tracking through with him what's going on in the mind of a head football coach at the college level throughout the course of a season. So I've really loved these talks with Coach Butler. So we'll be checking in with him. We did not do that last week. They had a bye, and then they played this past weekend, and so we'll see kind of how Coach treats that bye. We're going to talk today specifically with Coach Butler about a little more regarding recruiting. I had some specific questions for him regarding recruiting, and then also kind of how he treated that bye, and then how his last game went. So we'll be talking to him about those issues. And then today's topic on our podcast is how to get buy-in, how to get better buy-in as a head coach. And so several years ago, I surveyed 300 coaches. About 80% of those were at the high school level. About 80% of those were at the high school level. The other 20% were at the collegiate level. And the survey was about how head coaches can get better buy-in from their assistants. And that survey just showed a whole lot about what coaches can do to get better buy-in. We also asked the question, what's the most important thing you wish your head coach did a better job of? So we'll go through those top 4 answers there as well. I think this will be very beneficial to you if you are a head coach or an aspiring head coach. One day you'll have your own program. So get in, buckle in. First, we're going to catch up with Coach Butler. After that, we'll be talking about ways to get buy-in from your assistant coaches. Thank you again for checking out this podcast. We really appreciate it. You are listening to the Coach's Locker podcast with Chris Fore, a place for all coaches to call home. The Coach's Locker podcast is a part of the Football Coaching Podcast Network. Please visit footballcoachingpodcast.com to hear and see our entire lineup of top football coaches coming to you every single podcast with valuable information to help you and your program. The Coach's Locker podcast with Chris Fore exists to help prepare coaches to be hired for the job of their dreams and to provide coaches with dynamite resources to become even more successful in their field. You can reach me on Twitter at Coach Fore. That's at COACHFORE. And my podcast home is at 8laces.org/podcast. That's 8laces, EIGHTLACES.org/podcast. Welcome to the Coach's Locker podcast with Chris Fore. Now, let's get after it. All right, we're here with Coach Butler again. Coach, thank you for your time, taking us through the journey of being a head football coach here at the college level for your first year. Coach, you guys are coming off a bye. Before we get to your results from this weekend, let's talk about your bye week a little bit. We did not talk last weekend, so how did you guys spend the week during a bye week, Coach?
So we practiced Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. On Wednesday, we actually had our red shirts and our young guys who aren't playing a ton. We actually had a scrimmage with them, so this was live and everything. So just a good chance to see kind of where they're at, kind of what they know, and then a chance for them to compete as well. They don't get a ton of live reps in terms of being able to go full out live. So, a chance for them to do that, and also a chance to develop some of our young guys in positions that they might be playing on Saturdays. So just trying to, catch them up to speed on things that they don't know, and then fix some of the stuff that, we were having issues with in the first part of the season.
Okay, and then did you have any guys, injured that a week off really kind of helped them get their legs back under them or fix any injuries or anything like that?
Yeah, we had a few guys who they were banged up a little bit, and some guys that they had a chance to heal from those injuries and rest a little bit, get some extra treatment that they needed to be able to be ready for the following week.
Yeah. Coach, what about your staff? Did you guys, I think last time we spoke, you said you guys spent a little more time on the recruiting end of things during the bye week. How did that go for you guys last week?
It went well. I mean, I got out to a couple games. I got a chance to see some local guys play, and a chance to talk to some coaches. So we were all out at games last weekend.
Coach, when you go, I noticed a coach from a school. This was at our game last Friday night, our high school game. Mm-hmm. We were playing Banning High School. Banning has a legit Division I kid who has I can't remember which schools, but he has narrowed his choice down to 2 Pac-12 schools. Difference maker on the field for sure. But there was a coach from another school. I won't name the school, but there's a coach from another school there, who's totally out of the running in this as far as this kid, is concerned at this point. But I was pretty amazed. That coach, he stayed there the entire game, talked to the kid afterwards. When you go out, as a college coach to these games, have you ever gone out to, scout a certain kid and then you're there and then someone from the opposite team turns into a recruit of yours? I was kind of interested in that night.
Yeah, 100%. There's been times where we've, you go to a game or even you're watching someone's film and a guy might stick out to you from the other team or, I know the game I went to last Friday night, there was a couple guys on the other team who, I didn't know about or, they weren't really on my radar, but seeing them live and play, it was like, oh, I should really talk to this guy. And so that happens. Also, one thing that we do, any game that we go to, like I don't want our coaches going to games just to go to a game. So for the most part, the games that we go out to, we're going to see a guy that we are actively recruiting, and so it's a guy that we've had a conversation with, and that we really really like, and we want him to come to our school. And then if we see someone that we do like, oh man, this kid, like let's say it was number 1 from such and such team, they're good, and we like the way they play, then we'll follow up with them as well.
Have you guys, Coach, in your time at the college level, let's say you got a kid on your board, based on highlights and test scores and, whatever background you do on paper, and then you go out to watch him in person. How often do you take a kid off your board when you see him in person? Has that happened, that flip side?
Yeah, it's happened before. And it's about, usually when we're at games, we get a chance to see everything. And so, the way they interact with their teammates, the way they interact with their coaches, and, how they do when things aren't going their way, how they are when they're up, those types of things. I know last year there was a kid we were recruiting, and I went to a game and just, heard some language, and it wasn't like it was out of, frustration or anything like that. It was during warm-ups. It was the first thing you see when you come out. And I was like, oh, okay, so this might not be a guy for us, and, so we kind of took him off our board, and that was that. But, yeah, we look at all those things, especially, when you get a chance to see him live, you definitely get to see, all of the different aspects of your recruit, film only tells you so much.
Yeah.
When you actually see the kid live, you get to see the intangibles kind of who they really are,
Yeah, absolutely. That's got to be very interesting. So now that you're a head coach this year, in the past, I know you've been a defensive coordinator, you've been a position coach at the college level. How has your workload, how has your, the time that you spend with recruiting, your philosophy of recruiting, how has that changed now that you're a head coach?
I really have to lean on my staff now.
Yeah.
In that sense, because like if I'm recruit, like I can't recruit how I want to recruit, because there's so many other things that I have to tend to or have to do, and so I try my best. Anytime I get a little bit of downtime, or let's say I finish something early or something like that, I always try to make sure that I get a little bit of recruiting time in. Obviously, I have some time set aside to recruit, but then also, recruiting never stops for us, and so you got to kind of recruit as much as you can. I know, our recruiting coordinator, he does a good job of, divvying up the responsibilities and where guys are supposed to recruit. So I have a little bit of a lighter load in recruiting, but I have to make sure I'm taking care of that as well. Twitter is amazing because, we're able to use that. And so that cuts down a lot of the time, in terms of phone time and stuff like that, because now I can talk to a kid on Twitter for a little bit, and obviously I'm going to call the kid, but Twitter helps get that conversation going as well.
Yeah.
And I can get some vital information that I need from them also.
Coach, have you, there at your school at Trinity International, have you changed any of the, recruiting philosophy much here in year one from, the last head coach? Have you kind of gone through issues there with having to change your staff's mindset on the type of guy to recruit and the method you guys use to recruit, or is that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
No. Yeah, we've changed it. Obviously the fit part of it, it does being a Christian school. Obviously that hasn't changed much. Some of our approach, that's changed a lot. I think, the type of kids that we're going after, and how we're going after them. For us, earlier we were more nationally, we recruited more nationally. We really didn't, not to say we didn't recruit our home state, but we weren't as big in it as I would say we should have been.
Okay.
And so, but now we're focusing on, Illinois and trying to get our, focus on our, our in-state, and then, working to get out of state as well.
Branch out from there, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, it's the whole recruiting world is, for a lot of guys listening to this that are high school, most high schools aren't out there having to do a lot of that. Of course, we all know there are some. They got their recruiting board too, sadly.
Yeah.
But thanks for the insight there on recruiting, Coach. And the best way for guys to follow you on Twitter and your program on Twitter, can you just throw out your handles there for us?
Yeah, my handle is at Coach Butler TIU, and then our team one is at TIU_football.
At TIU_football. Outstanding. So, Coach, you guys had the bye week, and then yesterday, September 29th, homecoming weekend, played a very solid program in Olivet Nazarene. Unfortunately, came out on the short end of the stick there, losing that homecoming game. Coach, tell us a little bit about the football game this weekend.
It's it's cool because you get to see guys grow up. You get to see guys when they're challenged, how they respond. And not to say that I don't like losing. I hate losing, but with us having such a young team, adversity is going to be good for us. One of our coaches on staff here, not a football coach, but on staff at the university. He told us, "Hey, coach, you know, he's like his dad always told him, you know, a good sailor was never made by calm seas." And so and man, I was like, oh, that's right on time. Like, we just, you know, at this point in time, we have to continue to, you know, focus, continue to do the right things. And, you know, as we went to our meetings tonight and we watched film, I just showed the entire team, you know, some of the plays that we missed out on just because we weren't in either the right position or, you know, we just didn't make a play, those types of things. So it's not like, you know, we're not there. We're just not making the plays that we need to make when we need to make them. And, you know, with a young team, that's encouraging because your guys are in the right spot. Now we got to make the play.
Yeah. So how much of that is it just a size, strength thing, being a younger team?
Yeah,
is it, what is it?
Yeah, it's a little size, strength, but then also, you know, experience, you know, and some of it is, man, you get, you know, as a college athlete that first year of college, if you have to play and you're contributing significantly, you know, it's something that, you know, you definitely have to grow in, you know, and would love to, you know, have a team full of seniors and, you know, allow those young guys to learn, you know, but fortunately for us, you know, we're building, you know, basically it's almost like a new program. Just because of, you know, new mission, new vision, you know, new recruiting strategy, those types of things. And so, you know, we're building. And so that's the fun part, is to see the guys as they grow, as they mature, as they continue to get better. You know, are we making mistakes as a team? Are we not, you know, finishing games? Yeah. Are the mistakes that are being made, you know, are those things correctable? Yes. And so, you know, I can't come in every single week and, you know, yell at our guys and get upset at our guys. The big thing I preach to them, and we talked about today, was our effort has to be good at all times. If our effort isn't good, then it doesn't matter what we do. And so, and then even when, you know, we get into a situation like yesterday, you know, we can't let that dictate how hard we play or, how we're going to play. We just have to go out and play every single week to the best of our ability. Every play. So
yeah, it looks like turnovers have been a thing for you guys. I mean, shoot, y'all put up 500 yards of offense yesterday, man. That's a lot of offense. 430 yards through the air. It just seems like those turnovers, obviously, that's a sign of being a younger team as well, Coach, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we had, you know, it was a point in the game. We were down 21 in the third quarter, about 4 minutes left. And defense, you know, we struggled on defense a little bit this year. And in the third quarter, we had, I mean, this is our second drive that, you know, we held the offense, forced them to punt the ball. And the series before, when we had the ball, we went down and scored. And so get the offensive ball back. We're down 21. We can close it to 14. We get a running into the kicker. It was 4th and 3, I think it was. Gave him the first down. Defense had to go back out on the field. Obviously, with an older team, you know, you're going to get guys with the mindset, you know, all right, let's go. Got to get a stop. You know, a younger team, that can kind of, you know, demoralize them. And, you know, obviously they're going to learn from this, you know, situation in terms of not making that mistake on punt return. And then also, if we do got to go out in that situation again defensively, we have to know, all right, we got to bow up and we got to make a play. And so obviously that's going to come with time, but, you know, we're in those situations and we got to learn. We got to learn through them.
Absolutely. Coach, you guys have up next, looks like the 21st ranked team in NAIA, St. Xavier. It seems like every time we talk, Coach, you guys are playing another powerhouse.
Oh, I mean, that's our conference. You know, that's our conference. I mean, we can't get around that. There's nothing that we can do about it.
Yep.
And so, you know, for me, as the head coach and, you know, our staff, we know this. We got to coach our guys up. We got to make sure they're in the right spots. And then also, you know, build our guys up, develop them. coach them up, and and make sure we're competing hard, and then we gotta let the chips fall where they may. Obviously, I love playing in this conference just because you play the best week in and week out. Some great coach teams. I know Olivet, they were like 6th in the country in defense.
Wow.
This past weekend, and I mean, yeah, Coach Youngblood's doing a great job with the defense over there, and Coach Hamey's doing a great job with his team, and so yeah, that's what we play week in and week out at Trinity, and it's fun because you're competing against the best of the best, and we get a chance to see where we're at, and then we also get a chance to see where we kind of want to be at as a program. With some of these top teams and everything.
Yeah. I mean, number 6 in the nation defensively, you guys still put 500 yards up. That's got to be promising for the future. How old is what year is your quarterback?
So quarterback, he's a junior college transfer.
Okay.
So he'll have one more year, but he's still, he's still learning the system. Everyone on offense is, new to the system. We had two returning starters offensively from last year.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's pretty, and then we got 2 freshman receivers starting, a freshman O-lineman, and then 3 other guys who, didn't play last year. So,
well, Coach, they say when you turn around a program, years ago I did a major study on NFL Super Bowl champion coaches, and it's in that year 3, when you really see the tipping point. I know there's a local program here in my city, Granite Hills. They're in year 3 with their head coach taking over. I think they were maybe 1-9 his first year, and then just a couple nights ago here, they beat a school called Victor Valley for the first time since I've been up here, since 2012.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, he's he's kind of turned a corner this year, and it's kind of neat to see a program, improving like that. So I'm sure, like you said, it takes a little time, get your own recruits in there and what have you. So, and I know you're going to keep your head to the grindstone here as you guys try to find another win this year.
Yep.
Coach, thanks for joining us. Again, we appreciate your time. We appreciate you taking us behind the veil a little bit of being inside the head of a head college coach in his first year, and good luck this week as you guys prepare for St. Xavier.
I appreciate it. Oh no, we got another bye this week.
Oh, you know what? I see that now. Yeah, I see.
Another bye this week.
Okay, yeah, I just saw that.
That's also
October 13th. So you get 2 byes. Yep. That's kind of different.
Yep. Yeah, well, we were supposed to have a game this week, but the team that we were supposed to play, they dropped football. So left us with 10 games. Yeah, left us with 10 games, and then but this was, I mean, we knew they dropped football before last season was over with. So,
who was that?
Northland College.
Interesting.
They're in Southern Illinois.
Why did they drop? Do you know?
I don't know. No, I don't know.
Yeah, and then it was just too late to find anybody else, huh?
Yeah, we were looking, but small school budgets. It was good for us just to have 10 games this year.
Yeah. Okay.
So we get another week to, get rested if we got to get rested, and
there you go.
Get our young guys up to speed some more. So we'll get another week to, kind of develop them and get back to the fundamentals, and again try to correct those mistakes that we're still making. And then play a very good opponent the next week.
Absolutely. Well, it's probably nice to get another bye then, I suppose, and get those guys, like you said, get those younger kids some extra work and get that recruiting trail again. Well, Coach, hey, thanks a lot. We appreciate your time.
All right, appreciate it.
All right, let's get into this thing. I love the topic because I'm one of those guys who likes to always be getting better. I always as a head coach, I should say, past tense, I always loved getting my team together at the end of the season and surveying them and trying to figure out what did we do right, wrong, and indifferent. Right, wrong, or better. What are some complaints? What are some praises the kids have? How can we optimize this program? You might have heard this past weekend James Franklin talking about how we're a great program, but that's not good enough. We're going to become, I can't remember the word he used, a premier. The idea of taking yourself from good to great, from great to premier. How do you do that? It's by surveying your kids, by surveying your organization, trying to figure out what's good, what's bad, what needs to change to get optimal performance. So I love that. One of the things I do with my consulting business is I help coaches survey their own players and families. I did that this past off season, last January, February of 18 here with a program who was just having a lot of issues, and a coach was actually trying to save his job. And, he came to me and we surveyed his entire program, and one of the things we found through that, there were a lot of systemic issues school-wide, the school-wide management philosophy, the school-wide management discipline issues that spilled over to his program were really phenomenal to see. And the only way we saw that was through surveying the kids and trying to find out why things were working out the way they were in his program. And kids wanted change. That was very evident in surveying this one specific program here in Southern California. The kids were dying for more structure and discipline. And as I asked the coach about some of those issues, he was saying, the school won't let me. The school won't let me sit a kid for missing practice. The school won't let me discipline a kid for leaving his equipment at home and missing a practice. So it was really, really interesting to see the systemic issues the school had, how that stuff carried over directly to the football program. We had another program where a coach, purchased the service. It's not very expensive to have a third party spend 10 or 15 hours working and studying your program from outside, because he wanted to know, what was at the core of some of the problems they were having with a few coaches specifically. And, were the players and parents seeing the same things that he was? And so, again, that was tremendous, as two specific coaches kept coming up time and again as I surveyed parents and players and worked through those issues and talked to some parents directly on the phone. The coach ended up getting rid of a couple of coaches. The head coach got rid of a couple coaches. So the whole process of self-evaluation, self-reflection is huge. If you go out to any business who's worth their salt, you'll see that there's some kind of structure, some, multi-tiered system to get better and involve their employees, etc. So that's what this podcast is about in terms of, how do I get better as a head coach? How do I get more buy-in as a head coach? So as you heard on the introduction there, this is a direct result of surveying a whole bunch of coaches. I think about 80% of them at the high school level. But let's talk through this thing. Obviously, we're not going to get through all 99, but I just wanted to spend some time talking about some of these big ones, okay, that came up. The number one thing that assistants would improve about their head coach, numero uno, communication skills. Okay, communication skills. 38%. There were 4 answers, okay? 4 answers that were in, had the majority of the percentage from 38 down to 7. So 38% of coaches of assistants said the number one thing they would change about their head coach is communication. I see this all the time. I just got off the phone with a coach from the East Coast, I'll just leave it there, who is having a ton of communication issues with his head coach. And we see this time and time again in programs that are struggling. Usually you don't see these too much in programs that are having a lot of success. Sometimes you do see it, but usually it's in the programs that are really struggling, where a coach just does not know how to communicate very well with his staff. And then you'll see that obviously bleed over to communication issues with family. Probably his own family too, but with his players, with staff and faculty, with community, with Booster Club. Usually communication issues aren't in a vacuum towards this guy struggles with communication issues towards his staff, but he communicates well with everybody else. We don't see that. So, but that's the number one. 38% of coaches surveyed said the number one thing they would change about their head coach was communication skills. Number two, and I think this goes it really does go hand in hand, organizational management, 36%. So those two are very close. You'll see a big drop off to 19% for number three. But second, organizational management. Again, you can look at this as written communication, I think, in one way. So you have verbal communication and then written communication. And definitely coaches, I think it's the number one knock on coaches, right, is that we aren't organized. Some coaches take a lot of pride in being very organized. To be honest, that's how I was as a head coach. I could tell you on January 5th what we would be doing, on August 19th. The exact practice plan, no, but I could tell you, on January 5th what we'd be doing on April 19th. So I always spent my Christmas vacation. I would dial in our year-long calendar, when's our 3-week dead period, so that parents could start planning for that. And so I would send that out the first week we got back. I would send out, hey, here's our key dates and here's our calendar, January to December. Okay, I always got that out so that everybody knew, when, hey, training camp starts August 10th, you better be back in town, ready to go. So some coaches are like that, some aren't, But those organizational management skills is the second most important thing head coaches would need to work on, it looks like, according to assistants. Number three, building a cohesive staff. Building a cohesive staff. That's 1 in 4, 19%. Sorry, 1 in 5, just about 1 in 5, 19% of assistants said that's the number one thing they would change. So it looks like and sounds like we've got a lot of head coaches who, are just not spending a lot of time during that hiring process, maybe not spending a lot of time making sure that the staff is going to be a cohesive unit. Again, I refer back to when I was a head coach, when I was hiring somebody, I would always include probably almost half of my coaching staff on that final round of interviews. So, and I like to cast a really wide net and talk to a lot of guys. And so, I would interview 10 to 12 people on the phone and then narrow that down to like 4 or 5 to bring in person. And then I would try really hard to get about half my staff there. And, man, when you do that, you get a lot of really positive buy-in. Honestly, there were times I really, really liked to coach on paper. I really liked to coach when we spoke on the phone. But then I brought him in, and most of my staff didn't like the guy, And those are the times you just have to go, okay, I'm going to go with my staff here, even as a head coach. Being able to say, all right, well, hey, there's something here I don't see, but these guys see. And, we would talk through that. Sometimes, okay, they talked me into it. I would kind of see what they were referring to. And then there are other times when I just didn't see that. But, I never made a hire if most of my staff wasn't on board with that guy, because you're setting yourself up for a lot of headache, setting up yourself up for a lot of pain throughout the season. You hire a guy that most of the staff doesn't like. And kind of right in line with that, number 4 on the list of the number one thing you would improve about your head coach, number 4, 7%. So 7% of all assistants I surveyed on this said it'd be how they treat the staff. And so let me ask you, as a head coach right now, you're in maybe week 6 or 7 of the season. Maybe you're in week 8. How are you treating your staff? You're a head guy right now. Maybe you're a defensive coordinator. How are you treating your staff? Okay, if you're an assistant, without a coordinator duty or title, you don't have people beneath you per se. Maybe you can, take a second here to evaluate your head coach. How is he treating the staff? So this idea of how a coach treats his staff is key. I saw recently on Twitter a head coach I know here in Southern California, Jeremy Raymer. He is in his first year as a head coach at Chaparral High School in Temecula. And he put up a picture of their whole staff out, on a Sunday afternoon with their wives out at a winery. There are a lot of wineries down there in Temecula. And so, his staff was enjoying a Sunday afternoon out all together. He even said they're not all here. But, quite a few of them, probably, 8 or 9 guys and their wives, girlfriends, what have you, all out together, in the middle of the season enjoying time at a winery. That's a great thing to do. I don't know who put that together, but that's a great thing to do. So as a head coach, how are you treating your staff? Kind of a really good thing to think about. I would ask your staff that at the end of the year. I would ask them. I'm going to put some surveys up on the show notes here. 8laces.org, EIGHTLACES.org/podcast. I'm going to put some surveys up there for you guys to use as tools. And you can, beg, borrow, and steal from those things and see, what are some ways, some questions you can ask of your own staff and players, at the end of this year to help you become better as a head coach, as a manager of people. So one thing I really encourage you to do is ask your staff those questions. All right, let's move on now to the second part of the podcast. The second part of the podcast, which is 99 things every head coach can do to get 100% buy-in from his assistants. So again, these are results from the survey I did. You're probably doing a whole lot of these things, and you're probably missing a whole lot of these things. Maybe your staff doesn't need some of these things we're going to talk about. But what I did is I took all the responses, 300 responses, and I kind of went through there and categorized them. Obviously there were repeats and stuff like that, so I took those answers, all the way out type of deal, not to repeat them, but I had more than 300 answers and kind of rolled them all down to 99 things every head coach can do. One of them, and these are in no particular order, folks, okay? No particular order. But number one we're going to talk about here, and it goes hand in hand with how he treats his staff, is give us respect. I think that's key. I've luckily, I haven't had too many situations where I worked for a coach I didn't respect. When you work for a coach that you don't respect, when you work for a coach that does not respect his staff, it's an awful place to be. You dread going to work. You dread going to film. You dread going to meetings. Okay? So, coaches, head coaches specifically, make sure you give respect to your staff. Okay? Look for ways to show them that respect. I understand how it is in the heat of a battle. Things are going to happen. I coached varsity baseball for a while, long time ago, back in 2001, 2004. And I remember the head coach I worked for, a real nice guy named Mike. And he absolutely blew up on me one day in the dugout. And I had given him some wrong information, some wrong intelligence, some wrong stat keeping on a player. And, I told him, hey, this guy can't hit the curveball. Well, I was one batter behind. Well, we decided to throw a first pitch curveball to this kid, and he knocks it out of the park for like a 3-run home run. He looks at me and the guy chewed me out. I didn't blame him. And I was like, crap, I saw his number as he crossed home plate. And I'm like, that's not this number. So I went over to him and I said, dude, I didn't turn the page, man. This kid up right now doesn't like curveball. So he chewed me upside, one downside the other. I was kind of ticked because of how he did it in front of the kids, and I mean the whole place heard it happen. So I thought he, showed me a lack of respect in that way, and I understood it. I mean, I deserved a butt chewing, but probably could have been a little different way to do it, where he could have chewed my butt, sent me a message, but then also, showed me respect as he did that. So, number 2, allows me to coach my group without looking over my shoulder all the time. Boy, this is something I've struggled with in the past as a head coach, micromanaging your guys. Some of you probably have to do a lot of that, I think it's become harder and harder to find great football coaches out there. And so we kind of have to, sometimes you get stuck with what you have, right? So sometimes you might need to micromanage your coaches. But you can tell, coaches, assistants they don't like that. Assistants don't like to be micromanaged. So if you can stay away from it, that's good. I think, spending time in the office on, talking about drills and talking about practice plan and all that, so that when you go out there, you don't have to stand and look over their shoulder is a really good practice. Number 3, the way he treats the kids and the coaches. You can tell he genuinely cares for those around him. So this was one of the things that an assistant said. He wished that the head coach would treat the kids and the coaches better, so that you can tell that he cares. And I think that that's one thing a lot of coaches do a great job of, is that they do care for the kids, and they care for the coaches, but they don't always show it. And I think assistants, they want to know that you care for them. They want to see that you care for them. And so look for ways that you can show that care and concern to your coaches and to your players. Number 5, kind of lines up. We talked about this. He shows me loyalty and freedom. That's a good one. He shows me loyalty and freedom. So are you showing your coaches loyalty in how you talk about them in the community, how you talk about them with other coaches? Are you showing them loyalty in how you promote? That's a big deal, right? I know I've heard some feelings in the past where, I had to look outside of our staff to hire a coordinator just because I didn't trust anybody I had on staff. So then they feel like you're not loyal to them. That's always kind of a tough one to get over and tough one to kind of figure out sometimes. I think that freedom's real important. My hiring practice, man, I always want to hire the absolute best guy I can, and I think most head coaches feel this way. You want to hire the best coach you can find and let them do their thing. Most head coaches would agree that's the way to do it. You don't want to micromanage, but so keep doing that if that's your philosophy. Give them the freedom to do their thing. I've not agreed sometimes with some coordinators I've worked with, but man, I hired them to do a job. I'm going to let them do that job, and I'm going to give them freedom to do that job. Number 6, a good head coach creates buy-in by giving his assistants a stake in the program. I really like this. Some guys, those micromanager type head coaches, okay, they don't let other assistants do anything. Then they wear themselves out. Sometimes guys, I don't have anybody that can help me do anything. They want to feel sorry for themselves when they got 10 guys that would jump at doing something if they were just allowed to. So think of ways you can give your assistants a little stake in the program, okay? Maybe you're a guy who has assistants doing everything. You got a lot of opportunities for your coaches to get more buy-in and take responsibility off of your shoulders. If you don't, think of some ways that you can do that. That's a real important part. No matter how small a job you're giving to someone else, they can help you. They can take some work off of your plate, and they can also get some buy-in to your program, which is kind of the title here, 99 things every head coach can do to get 100% buy-in. One of those things is giving them more responsibility. Ties in right here, number 7. Our head coach does a great job of letting everyone have input. There we go, that buy-in. He gives us freedom. We see that word freedom again, okay? So you can see when some of these things assistant coaches are saying, you want to get buy-in from your guys, give some freedom. Give some freedom to them, and let them do some things. Let them run with some things. Stop being a micromanager, okay? Let them start a golf tournament. And you might come up with a lot of reasons it's going to fail, and it might, but give them that buy-in. Number 8, give the coaches ownership, okay? Starting to see a little bit of a theme. Give the coaches ownership of aspects of the program and then hold them accountable to that. Number 9, have open dialogue about issues going on in the program, even if he decides to go in another direction. It's a really good thing about, having regular meetings where you can sit and talk about
the program, not just the film, but, program management and getting buy-in. Hey, we had a kid suspended for smoking weed. Here's what I'm thinking of doing. What do you guys think? Give me some feedback on this kid. You can sit around a table and talk about how to handle that. Number 10, what's something your head coach can do? This guy wrote, I have nothing. I'm committed to the kids and only the kids. Interesting. So you have coaches out there. They don't care about the head coach. They're just there to get work in for the kids and get work in with the kids, which is an interesting response there. Number 12, our head coach started our first meeting with a Bible verse and our team philosophy. We all felt comfortable adopting the philosophy immediately and spreading it to our players. So that's great. A head coach who has, a mission and a vision and is able to spread that out, communicate that to his assistants, who can then communicate that out to the rest of the team. So, I've been in a place where, the mission and vision for the season, or the saying that goes on all the back of the shirts, that's announced right there to the kids and coaches all at one time. The coaches never really had much say or buy into it. Well, they're probably not going to really care about that theme too much for the year. But once you talk over that with your staff, that's where you get some of that buy-in. Number 13, this was funny. He got us awesome Nike coaching gear and shoes early in the summer. And, man, that's a little thing, and it kind of sounds funny, right? But you take care of your coaches in those little ways, man, and they'll go a long way for you. That's one thing you can do to get some buy-in. Taking care of your coaches. I've worked at a program before. I had to buy my own practice shirts, And it's like, man, I got to bring in, and then they were overpriced. It's like, I got to bring in, $40 for 2 shirts, $60 if I want a third one. Like, someone's making money here, maybe. But, I've been in a program where we got, one, literally, one long sleeve t-shirt and one short sleeve t-shirt given to us, and that's it. Nothing else for the whole year. And it's like, well, what do we wear to games? I don't care. Just wear whatever you want. Okay, how about, can I get a hat? Go see the equipment guy. So it's like, when if you treat coaches like that, is a coach going to walk away and quit and stop and throw a fit because he doesn't get good gear? No, not usually. But it's nice, man. Again, this is an area I took a lot of pride in as a head coach myself. I remember the first year I was a head coach and my first meeting with my staff, most of those guys, I became a head coach at a place where I was already an assistant. So I had coached with most of these guys already for 2 years. And I said, I had on this form like their birth date and their shoe size and their pant size. And they're like, why do you need all this from us, man? And I'm like, well, I care about when your birthday is, dude. Because I mailed them a little birthday card home, little thing like that makes a difference. And then we bought them all shoes, matching shoes. We bought a pair of game shoes, and we bought some practice shoes for my coaches. And then I also bought game pants, So again, something to where we could all, look the same. Obviously, we bought polos. We've been doing that for a long time. And but man, just buying them those shoes and buying them those pants, they felt real appreciative of that. And it went a long way. So maybe that's a little way you can, fundraise a little extra to, just do a little something extra for the guys that might go a long, long way with them. This coach says, gives us a say in everything to create ownership. My head coach delegates very well to create ownership. We've talked about that a few times now. I'm not going to keep beating that dead horse, but you can see it's very important to assistants to have some ownership. Number 15 here. Our head coach does a very good job of being open to new thoughts, ideas, plans, and allows us to implement those if necessary. So again, that buy-in that you're getting is real important, okay? That buy-in to the program, that buy-in to what's going on with the program as a whole. A very important thing for your assistant coaches, okay? All right, the next number here is number 16. A good listener to ideas, and is very good with coaches' family issues that arise. Love it. You know, a good head coach, one who's going to get buy-in from his assistants, most definitely make sure that the whole person, meaning the whole of the coach, is pretty solid, and the whole of the coach is cared about. Doing that will definitely get buy-in from your assistants if they know that you care about the whole of them, their family, you know, what's going on at family. You know, if you just brush off some of those family issues that are happening, coaches aren't going to buy into what you're trying to do. So real important to make sure that you care about them and show that care and concern to them. Ask for input. That's another great one. Okay? Another great one that's in here a whole lot, and we've talked about a whole lot, that you're going to show that you care about their knowledge, and you're going to get that buy-in from your staff if you ask for input. Now, there's a difference between asking for input because you really want it, you really care about it, and asking for input just to ask for input and, you know, kind of go through motions with them. You don't want to do that, obviously. Okay, so real important that you actually mean what you ask for and you care about what you ask for. Number 19. He shows leadership. So it kind of seems silly to look at that answer as a way to get input, a way to get buy-in. But I think it's true. I mean, you got to show leadership as a coach. You got to show leadership if you really care about what's going on. You really care about your kids and your assistant coaches. Show that you're a leader. 20, his passion for the sport and the players. It's a great way to get buy-in. Man, you show that you have that passion. You show that you care about those players. Your assistants are going to want to do the same thing. 21, communicating the long-term program plan. Making sure the whole staff is on the same page. Are we just trying to get through this game as a program, or is there a rhyme and reason to what we are doing? Okay, because that's very important to your assistants, to many coaches. Many assistant coaches want to know, you know, A to Z, what's the program's plan here? What is it that we really care about? What is it that we're really trying to do here, top to bottom in this program? Makes every coach feel a part of the staff. He isn't a micromanager, okay? Doesn't have a meeting just to have a meeting, and is very good. So this kind of had a bunch of stuff to it, so let's break it down. Number one that he says here, this is answer 22, makes every coach feel a part of the staff. That's real important, man. If you're going to ask a guy to be a part of your staff, let him be a part of your staff, okay? Make him be a part of your staff. Make sure he feels a part of your staff. The second thing he said here, isn't a micromanager. Real important not to micromanage people. We talked about that earlier. Doesn't have a meeting just to have meetings. That goes to respecting your coach's time, respecting their life away from football, respecting their schedule. If you do that, you're going to get buy-in. Very good at planning and communication with the staff. We saw earlier that that's one thing coaches say, or, you know, assistants say, a number one thing we want our head coach to improve upon. This coach hits two of them right there. Planning, okay, that organizational management side of the house, and then communication. So, number 23, genuinely cares about me as an individual. Not just what I can do for him as a head coach, okay, but cares about me as an individual. We just talked about that a little bit in regards to caring about their family, showing that care and concern to coaches as individuals, okay? And so it's real important. That's why I asked for, birthdays, because I wanted to show them that I care about you not just as a coach, but I care about you as a person, about what's going on as a person. And I'll tell you where I got that from is my very first year at a school. I was brand new to that school, and I was a young kid. I was 25 years old, and it was my birthday. And I'm not like one of these princess. Some of these people these days, they make their birthday last for a month. It's ridiculous. Some for a week. It's ridiculous. Sorry if you're that I'm not sorry, actually. If you're that person and you're listening, come on, man. You're an adult, right? Anyway, off that. But anyway, I was a 25-year-old dude, and, it's my birthday. I mean, birthdays are, they are what they are, but I was just kind of sad. I was, I'd moved away to kind of a new place, single guy, and here it is, my birthday, and nobody knows, nobody cares. And so that just always kind of struck me, like, I'm gonna make sure to show that care and concern to my employees and my assistants type of deal. 24, helps the staff see the big picture, allows us to help make decisions in order to achieve the desired goal. So again, some of you guys, you might think that your assistants don't really care about that big picture. They don't really know about that big picture. They don't really think about that big picture. But, here's a coach saying, yeah, that's important to me, okay? I do care about the big picture, and I want to see and I want to help my coach achieve those things. 25, ask for input, gives me ownership of certain aspects of the program. Again, you see that theme here, don't you? Number 26, sells the history of the program. Folks, we're not going through all 29. If you're thinking of turning off, I'm going through just maybe 10 more of these, okay? And then I'm going to attach this article to the show notes as well, because some of these will start repeating a little bit, as you've seen. And I think that, again, should speak to the volume and importance of the input thing. That's real, real important. 27, builds into his assistants and allows them the freedom to coach. There we see again, is loyal to his assistants. So we see freedom and loyalty. 28, my new head coach is an or else kind of leader. I've only worked to help the kids, not for his benefit or his ego at all. I will not be working for him next year. Very, very interesting comments there from an assistant. My new head coach is an or else, and those are in quotes, an or else kind of leader. Very interesting. 29, that has been the biggest issue. Not everyone works in the building. It's hard for him to get that 100% buy-in from all the coaches when he doesn't see everyone every day. That is very hard. I think the walk-on coach is increasing all across the nation. I know in California that's a really big deal. Shoot, you got a lot of head coaches out here that are walk-on coaches, which, some states are like, what? How does that work? But it works. It works. You got guys, teaching at one school all day and driving across town to coach at the other, which is really interesting. So that does make the buy-in very difficult. Number 30, let us coach, exclamation point. So again, you see a guy there expressing a little, maybe frustration there. He wants that freedom to run with things. You've hired him to do a job. Again, we've heard and seen that a lot here. 31, shows you that he cares about you and your family. 32, allows me to integrate myself into all aspects of the program. OD, specials, off-season, youth camps, fundraising. So again, guys, head coaches, you might feel like you're having to do everything. No one wants to help. A lot of coaches do. You just probably are having a really hard time communicating that to them, or you're having a hard time telling guys, what they need to be doing. You have a hard time asking for help maybe. A lot of guys out there that want to be doing more. 33, allows me the freedom to be myself. There we see that freedom word again. 34, put the kids before his ego. So we see that word ego here. 35, have a clear plan for helping the kids to be the best football players and young men they can be. 36, conviction to do the things the right way. You want to get buy-in from your assistants? Have a little conviction, this guy's saying. 37, a head coach will value the input of all assistants and respect their time on and off the job. 38, attitude towards every player, effort put in the weight room in the off season are two of the things this coach wants to see. 39, treat the staff like family. We always know we have each other's backs. We have a family environment within the staff. So how do you get your staff? How do you get your staff to come together and how do you get more buy-in? This coach is saying, treat us all like family. Okay, real important aspect there. Treating each other like family. Number 40, my head coach respects the kids and does whatever is necessary to find them a place to go after high school. So that has helped this coach to have some buy-in. 41, just the word results. You want to get buy-in from your assistants? Show me some results, this guy is saying. The best head coaches that I've been around have meticulous organizational skills, habits, and delegate responsibilities clearly to players and staff, and then they hold everyone accountable. Very good. I like the way that he put that in the delegation and then the holding accountable. 43, lets my voice count. Again, you've seen that a whole lot. We're just going to get to 50 here. Hold on, we're almost there. 44, have goals and a vision of the program. Second time you've heard that. Okay, articulate that, coaches. 45, it's all about kids. If you want buy-in from me, run a program to develop the character of our kids so they can become better students, better siblings, better sons, and better husbands. So obviously that coach, he's really interested in the totality of the person, the total person. 46, give vision and direction constantly for staff and players and stakeholders. So again, we see the vision there. That coach, so for him to buy in more, he's got to know what you're doing and why you're doing it. I think a lot of coaches feel that way. Okay, what's the vision for things in this program? 47, win. Be the most accountable guy on the staff. Be the most accountable guy on the staff. Number 48, we see that V word again, have a vision. 49, shows that it is a family. If you want me to be involved, you want buy-in, show me that we are a family. Number 50, gives me ownership in my duties. Gives me ownership in my duties. Again, we see there coaches wanting ownership. We see there coaches wanting to be held accountable, left alone, get things done. So there you have it. That's the top. That's 50 of the answers. As you can see, they're starting to get repetitive, so I'm going to cut there. But I really hope you've learned something. You've kind of self-evaluated as we've talked through these issues so that you can have a little bit better buy-in from your coaches. Some of you guys are doing all these things great. You've got tremendous buy-in already. Congratulations, you're doing things the right way. Folks, thank you for listening. Until next time, this is the Coach's Locker Podcast with Chris Fore.